Moreover, the veil of the woman in public worship, because of angels, may be an imitation of the good angels, who, when they sing the praises of God and adore and glorify his perfections, cover their faces and their feet with their wings. Isaiah 6, 1-3. Many understand these words in a figurative sense, and in this also they are not agreed. Some by angels think young men are meant, who, for the gracefulness and comeliness, are compared to angels. Others good men in general that attend religious worship. Others ministers of the word, often called angels in the book of Revelation, which last seems to be most agreeable of any of these senses. And the woman were to cover their heads, that they might not offend either of these, or stir up any impure desires in them. See Ecclesiastes 5:6. But as these words follow the account given of the creation of the woman from the man, and for her sake, this may have no reference to her conduct in public worship, but to the power she had of using her covering, or taking it off, or putting it on at the time of her espousals to a man, which was sometimes done by proxy or messengers, whom the Jews call angels. Their canon is, and man may espouse his wife by himself, or by his angel or messenger, and a woman may be espoused by herself, or by her angel or messenger. Wherefore, because of these angels or messengers that came to espouse her to such, she had power over her head to take off the veil and to show herself if she thought fit, or to keep it on, as to express her modesty, or just as she pleased, when she by them was espoused to a man, for whose sake she was made. Which sense, after Dr. Lightfoot, many learned men have given into, and seems probable. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 11. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman. This is said partly to repress the pride and insolence of man, that he might not be too much elated with himself and his superiority over the woman, and look with any degree of disdain and contempt upon her, and treat her with indifference and neglect, and partly to comfort the woman, that she might not be dejected with the condition and circumstances in which she was, since the one is not without the other. Nor can they be so truly comfortable and happy as not the man without the woman, who was made for an helpmeet for him. So neither the woman without the man in the Lord. The phrase in the Lord is added to show that it is the will of God, and according to his ordination and appointment, that the one should not be without the other. Or it may be designed that lawful conjunction and copulation of one man and one woman together according to the will of the Lord, which distinguishes it from other impure mixtures and copulations. The Arabic version reads it, in the religion of the Lord, and the sense is that the one is not without the other in religious worship and in the enjoyment of religious privileges, that though the woman may not pray publicly and expound the scriptures, yet she may join in prayer and hear the word preached, sing the praises of God, and enjoy all ordinances. For in Christ no distinction of sex is regarded. Men and women are all one in him, and equally regenerated, justified and pardoned, and will be glorified together. 1 Corinthians 11:12. For as the woman is of the man originally, so Eve was of Adam, made out of one of his ribs. Even so is the man also by the woman. Now man is born of a woman. He is conceived of one, brought into the world by one. This is the way in which mankind is propagated, the species preserved, continued, and increased, and therefore there is no reason why the woman should be despised, or the man should be lifted up with himself above her, since they are so dependent upon and so useful to each other. But all things are of God. The Arabic version reads it, all creatures are of God, which is true, but not the truth of these words, which are to be restrained to the subject of the discourse, as that both man and woman are of God. They are made by him, and after his image and likeness, that the man is the glory of God, and the woman the glory of man. The authority of the man over the woman, and the subjection of woman to man, are of God, and according to his constitution and appointment. As also that the woman should be of the man, and for his sake, and that the man should be by the woman, and neither should be without each other. These are not things of human constitution, but are settled by the wise counsel of God, and therefore to be carefully submitted to as the best order of things. 1 Corinthians 11:13. Judge for yourselves. The apostle, having gone through the variety of reasonings and arguments showing the superiority of man to the woman, by which he would prove that the one should be covered and the other uncovered, returns to his subject again and appeals to the common sense and understanding of the Corinthians, and make themselves judge the matter, suggesting that the thing was so clear and he so certain of what he advanced being right that he leaves it to them, not doubting but that they would, upon a little reflection within themselves, join with him this point: is it comely that a woman pray unto God uncovered? In your judgment you can never think so. However pleasing and gratifying such a sight may be in the lust of the flesh and to the lust of the eye, but he does not mention prophecy, only instances in praying, but it is also understood of one as of another, and his meaning is that it is an uncomely thing in a woman to appear in public service with her head uncovered, whether it be in joining in public prayers, or in singing of psalms, or in hearing of the word expounded. And though the apostle does not put the case of the man's praying to God or prophesying in his name with his head covered, yet his sense is the same as that, as of the woman's. 1 Corinthians 11 verse 14. Doth not even nature itself teach you? By nature is either meant the law and light of nature, reason in man, common sense, or rather custom, which is second nature, and which in this case must be restrained to the Greeks and the Jews. For though among the Grecians the men cut their hair and did not suffer it to grow long, as also did the Jews, yet there was many nations who did not even at that time observe such a rule or custom. But as the Jews and Greeks were the persons chiefly, if not solely, known to the Corinthians, the apostle signifies that the usage of these people might direct and inform them in the matter. That if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him. He looks unmanly and womanish, and exposes himself to ridicule and contempt. 1 Corinthians 11:15. But if a woman have long hair, and wears it without cutting it, as men do, it is a glory to her. It is comely and beautiful. It is agreeable to her sex. She looks like herself, it becomes and adorns her. For her hair is given her for a covering, not instead of a covering for her head, or any other part of the body, so that she needs no other. We read indeed of the daughter of Nicodemus, Ben-Gurion, that she obliged to make use of her hair for a covering in such a sense. It happened in Jechanan ben Zakkai that he rode upon an ass and went to Jerusalem, and his disciples went with him. He saw a young woman gathering barley corn out of the dung of the Arabian cattle. When she saw him, she covered herself with her hair and stood before him. But this covering was made use of, not of choice, but by force, through her poverty, she having no other. This was not the custom of the nation, nor was the hair given to her for the covering in that sense, nor used by them as such, unless by Eve before the fall, but is rather an indication that they want another covering for their head, it not being so decent that their long hair should be seen. The Jewish women used to esteem it an immodest thing for their hair to be seen, and therefore they took care, as much as possible, to hide it under another covering. One woman, whose name was Kimcheth, had 7 sons, and they all ministered in the high priesthood. The wise men said unto her, What hast thou done, that thou art so worthy? She replied to them, All my days the beams of my house never saw, the plaits of my hair. This is they were never seen by any person, even within her house. 1 Corinthians 11:16. But if any man seem to be contentious, that is, if anyone will not be satisfied with reasons given for man's praying and prophesying with his head uncovered, and the woman praying and prophesying with her head covered, but will go on to raise objections and continue carping and cavilling, showing that they contend not for truth but victory, can they but obtain it? For my part, as if the apostle should say, I shall think not it worthy my while to continue the dispute any longer. Enough has been said to satisfy any wise and good man, any one that's serious, thoughtful, and modest, and shall only add, we have no such custom, nor in the churches of God, meaning either that men should appear covered and women uncovered in public service, and which should have some weight with all those that have any regard to churches and their examples, or that men should be indulged in a captious and contentious spirit, a man that is always contending for contention's sake, and is continually cavilling and carping at everything that is said and done in churches, and is always quarrelling with one person or another, or on account of one thing or another, and is constantly giving uneasiness, is not fit to be a church member, nor ought he to be suffered to continue in the communion of the church in the disturbance of the peace of it. This puts in mind the passage in the Talmud. The rabbins teach that after the departure of Amir, Judas said to his disciples, "Do not let the disciples of Amir enter here, because they are contentious." 1 Corinthians 11:17. Now, in this that I declare unto you. The Syriac version reads, "This is what I command," which some refer to what he had been discoursing of, adding to his arguments and the examples of the church, his own orders and commands, that men should worship God publicly uncovered and women covered, though it rather seems to respect what follows,